Sweet. How's everybody doing?
Adam, for you this year, the World Juniors and the World Championship, two-time gold medalist in 1 year. How does that all feel for you?
It's first of all, it's an honor to play for Canada in first place and to be able to take home the gold medal both times. I mean, when you're playing for Team Canada, that's always the goal and that's the expectation. But being able to bring both of those home, it's amazing, and I'm extremely grateful to be able to play for both of those teams.
How did you feel you fit in playing with the senior team, the men's team over in Finland and Latvia?
Pretty good. I mean, I think it took me a little bit to get comfortable and to feel out the room and the structure and everything. But once I was able to get comfortable and to acclimate a little bit, I started to get more confident and I started to play my best hockey in the back half of the tournament there.
Adam, as far as seasons go, quite a few accolades this year. I mean, if you were to kind of plan things out this season, could you have possibly predicted, Hobey Baker, multiple gold medals, a good run with Michigan? I mean, how did this season meet your own personal expectations?
It far exceeded it, to be honest with you. I was really fortunate to get to play with a lot of phenomenal hockey players on a lot of amazing teams. I mean, playing on Michigan for starters, I mean, amazing guys there. That's the tightest group I've ever played for. It's a tribute to our seniors and our leadership group there. They did a phenomenal job, and I think we went a lot further than a lot of people expected us to, coming in with 12 freshmen there, and then having the experience that we did at World Juniors and at World Championships. Those were both phenomenal.
Adam, what do you feel sets you apart from other prospects? What aspect of your game sets you apart from other prospects in this draft?
I'd say my ability to be able to play up and down a lineup. I thought I was able to show that in World Juniors and at the World Championships. I don't have to be in that top role necessarily to be able to have an impact on a game. I think my physicality and compete is something that I pride myself on and something that I'm able to use up and down the lineup and be a depth guy if that's needed.
Adam, going back to the World Juniors, what was your take on playing with Connor Bedard and what he's capable of?
My opinion on what he's capable of,
or just what was it like, just being watching him play and just what he is capable of?
Yeah, he's a phenomenal hockey player. He's a great kid. I mean, we've played together a few times, gone to a couple camps together, and we're pretty good buddies. So being able to watch him have success like that was awesome, and he was a huge part of why we won that gold medal. So anytime I get to play with him is amazing. He has an awesome work ethic. So yeah, he's a phenomenal hockey player. I'm excited to see what he can do in his career.
And no disrespect to your accomplishments, because you've had a phenomenal year. All the buzz is centered on Connor. Do you think there's something that separates him and you, or the rest of the class, or how do you approach this draft with all the buzz on him?
I think me and Connor are completely different players. I think we can impact games differently. I think the way we approach the game is a little bit different. At the end of the day, it comes down to what a team wants and what a team might need. So going into the draft, my mindset is focus on myself and enjoy the day. You only get one draft. So going into it, I'm just going to try and be in the moment and enjoy it the best I can.
Hey Adam, good to see you again. Just back to Connor, sorry, but when you're a player of your level, like a lot of other years, you'd be in the conversation for number one. What's it been like? Has it helped or hurt that maybe you've flown under the radar a tiny bit with so much attention on Connor?
I think that's kind of been the last couple of years of my career. I mean, I went down to play for Kimball Union and then went to Chicago and went to Michigan. So instead of going right into that light of the OHL, I kind of maybe flew under the radar a little bit more in that sense. In terms of having Connor in the draft as well, he's, like I said, he's a phenomenal hockey player, deserves everything he's getting. There's a lot of eyes on him in terms of everything that's going to be expected to do with the amount of success he's had in juniors and on the international level. So, for him, he's going to, in my opinion, he's going to be able to exceed those because he's such an amazing guy and an amazing player. But, we've been in completely different situations and we're going into draft day in different spots. So it's just going to be a different experience for both of us.
Adam, certainly a lot of attention will be placed on you with your interviews with both the Ducks and the Blue Jackets. Just how did those two particular interviews go, and what did they really want to know about you in that process?
They went well. They more asked pretty standard questions about myself, my family, my experiences at World Juniors and World Championships. Just wanted to get to know me a little bit better, and I really liked it because I was able to get to know them the best I possibly could in that time frame. So they just wanted to get to know me as a person and ask me a couple questions on those experiences.
Hi, Adam. Was curious, what was the biggest challenge for you at Michigan this season? You know, big offensive numbers, but big penalty numbers, the physical play and whatnot. What was the biggest challenge for you?
I don't know, to be honest. We had quite a few young guys. We had 12 freshmen coming in, and I think being able to get a team to be as close as we were was something that we really focused on. And biggest challenge is just going through those dog days together and making sure that everybody's giving it everything they got to be the best team that we could possibly be collectively. Obviously, we had our ups and downs with the passing of Ian Hume and what happened to our teammate Stephen Holt. So I think that adversity really helped us come together as a group and something that helped us down the line. But I'd say those were probably the biggest challenges, and it wasn't even on the ice. It was away from it.
Hi, Adam. Obviously, you and Connor and Leo kind of been considered the top of this class. Through your experiences kind of at the World Juniors and obviously everything else you've played in the last couple of years, is there anyone outside of that group that you view as, maybe a little bit under the radar or underrated as far as, in that kind of maybe 5 to 15 range that you feel like is a really good player that, will get their chance to shine as well in the league?
Yeah, I think this draft has a lot of really good hockey players. The one guy that I always try and put as much light on as possible is Gavin Brindley. Getting to play with him this year was absolutely amazing. His compete level and his brain and how much he loves the game was phenomenal. I always say he's the best locker room guy I've ever played with, so being able to always be with him in the room and with him in the dorm rooms just hanging out was awesome. But his compete and his work ethic and the way he was able to play after Christmas was phenomenal. I respected it so much.
Going back to the World Championship, what was kind of one thing after playing against pros, that you feel like you'd want to improve in your own game?
I think you just kind of realize it's a pro game, and it's a lot of NHL guys went over there, so you kind of realize, like, to be the player that personally I want to be and at the next level, I think I got to work on a lot of areas. I got to work on getting bigger. I think I can fill out my frame a little bit more, but decision making, getting faster, and just acclimating to being confident in that kind of environment is something you just got to get used to, in my opinion.
Was there any player on Canada you got really close to?
There was quite a few guys that were extremely helpful. I mean, the younger group of guys with like Jake Neighbors, Jack McBain, Michael Carcone, P.O. Joseph, Cody Glass, those types of guys were guys that I was able to hang out with away from the rink. But guys like Scott Lawton and Tyler Toffoli and Milan Lucic helped me figure out how to fit in a locker room like that and navigate situations away from the rink, just living like a pro and living that kind of lifestyle with them. They were all extremely helpful, but in different ways.
Hi, Adam. I know you mentioned the interviews with Anaheim and Columbus, but how many interviews have you done altogether this week? And what do you think all the teams that interviewed you and that don't really have a chance, I guess, to draft you were looking for?
I had 11 altogether, but I don't think it's always for right now, to be honest with you. Sometimes trades could happen down the line, picks could switch, you never know. And I think they might be doing due diligence for further down the line in my career and in theirs. So just getting in those rooms, feeling it out, getting to know them getting to know me, it was a really good experience, and I'm really glad I was able to have that many, actually. Yes, they were.
Adam, it's interesting between you and Connor and Leo. It's 3 very different paths to get to the same point here. What was it, I'm curious, because you had the opportunity to go to the Ontario League, what was it about college hockey that made the best option for you?
Well, it wasn't really college at the start. When I first went down to go play for Kimball Union, it was to go play with my brother and try and play with under 20 group of guys when I had just played with the Toronto Red Wings, and I tried to drop back down to my own age, but I felt like it'd be better to go play with my brother and try and play with older guys there. And after that, it was the OHL draft, but COVID happened and OHL wasn't even going to start, so I figured I'd go play with my brother again in Chicago and learn to develop there because they've had so many amazing guys go through there. And Brendan Brisson, Owen Power, Sean Farrell, Matt Coronado, all those guys went through there and succeeded. So I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to go down and play with my brother again. And while I was down there, I loved it, and I thought I got so much better that I wanted to go back for a second year. And in my second year, I toured Michigan, and I loved it so much that I wanted to commit there, and I wanted to go and play there. So it kind of just was a year-by-year thing, and every decision was happened at that time. It was nothing planned before that point.
Adam, who would you say is your closest NHL comparable, and why?
I like to always preface that question by saying I don't think I compare myself to anybody in the NHL. I can't compare myself to anybody in the NHL because they're NHL players. They do it at the highest level, and they get paid to do it. The guys that I try and take from the most, I'd say, are Nathan McKinnon and Matthew Tkachuk. Those are guys I try and emulate a lot, but I can't say I play like anybody in the NHL because they're NHL stars.
Did you have any interaction with Steve Yzerman while at Worlds, and if so, what was that like?
So he actually didn't come over to Europe to be with the team or anything like that, but I have gotten to know him here, and I did get to know him because he came in and spoke to our World Junior group there, and I've seen him at some Red Wings games, and I've gotten to build a pretty good relationship with him.
And lastly, just you've talked quite a bit about Michigan. Was there something besides playing for the Wolverines that you enjoyed about your year in Ann Arbor?
I mean, just living on campus and going to all your classes and living the school life. I mean, a lot of people might look at it as balancing both, but I think it's just almost having two different sides of things, where when you leave the rink, you get to live like a normal college kid, and when you're done with your classes, you get to go to the rink and have fun doing what you love. So I think it was just having two different sides of your life that you could go to and enjoy, really.
Did you have a favorite class?
I did, actually. I had two that were really interesting. I had a English class that was amazing because of my professor. He was a really good guy, and my other class was public speaking. It was really cool. With Jennifer Luther was my professor there. She was great, and I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Adam.
Thanks, guys.
We'll take questions for Connor.
Hi, Connor. We saw you chirping Biz Nasty in Vegas. I'd like to know what your takeaway was from that whole trip. You know, seeing a Stanley Cup final game, seeing the atmosphere. I mean, just what did you come away from seeing that game in that spot, thinking maybe someday you can be in one?
Yeah, definitely. I think when you're watching, it makes you want to play in it that much more. And
I mean, it was great. Like, it's great the NHL does that for us. And, you know, I hadn't met Leo and Will, so it was good to spend time with them and get to know them and stuff. So, I mean, it was awesome. I've never been to a Cup final game in Vegas. Their fans are crazy. So, it was a really cool experience. And, you know, we all really enjoyed it.
And did you meet Jack Eichel in the locker room?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd met him before. He was at the Bausteel camp last year. So, I knew him a little bit. But, yeah, I saw him.
Connor, it's been a long year. I mean, it's starting with the first World Juniors back in the summer as well. You know, how are you tired? I mean, it feels like the spotlight's been on you all year, and now you're kind of in the final months here, where it's gonna, you know, this part of your career is going to end. But, you know, how have you been able to handle the spotlight that's been on you for not just this year, but the last few?
Yeah, I think just kind of taking things day by day, and I mean, I'm focused on, you know, what's important and you know what I control, and you know with my own team and my own play, of course. So you don't really think about that stuff. I mean, there's some extra interviews and attention and whatnot, but you know, for me, if you know, I'm just staying focused on kind of, you know, what I need to be focused on and trying to become a better player and a better person. So it's kind of how I handle it, I feel like.
Hey, Connor, we have a pretty good idea who you're going to be playing for next year, but how many teams, I'm curious, wanted to interview you in that over the week, and how did you handle that?
Yeah, it was a pretty good amount. I'll kind of, you know, keep the number to myself, I think. But you know, I talked to a good amount, and you know, it was really good. It's always exciting when you can talk to a, you know, team of the league you dream of playing in. So you know, I had a lot of fun with it, and it's been a great week.
What kind of stuff can you learn from that, from talking to GMs and scouts and what have you?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you can definitely learn some things. They're kind of, you know, the ones running those teams, and you know, getting to talk to them and kind of build some relationships with some of them, of course, with the meetings was good.
Connor, I know you're a guy that stays in the moment, you know, one foot in front of the other, but are you getting impatient here? Like, is you just want to get, is this just another signpost on the road? You want to get to Nashville and get this done and get started on your pro career?
No, I mean, that kind of mindset is, I mean, you know, this is our dreams and stuff. So, you know, all of this, I think we kind of just got to take in and, you know, enjoy it. And, you know, obviously you want to see what happens and whatnot. But, you know, for me, I'm just trying to enjoy kind of everything that goes along with it.
You going to do all the testing here?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we did the stuff yesterday, and then we had the bike today, so kind of the last stop tomorrow.
Last question, what was any off-the-wall questions that you got from teams?
Nothing too wild, no. I think there's been some in the past years that people have had some stories about, but nothing too crazy.
Hey, Connor, just what was your conversation like with Kyle Davidson and with the Blackhawks throughout the year and then this week as well?
Yeah, it was good. You know, I met them last summer once, and then you know, to see them again here was good, and kind of, you know, have some conversations with them, of course, and you know, I enjoyed that, kind of getting to know them and whatnot. So it was good, and you know, I had fun with it.
If they do select you, I guess what would be your attitude going into that in a situation where the team's in such a rebuild and you'd be kind of a central piece right away?
Yeah, it'd be awesome. I mean, the history with that organization and you know, that city with sports would be unbelievable, and you know, we'll see what happens. But you know, if they do select me, that would be a huge honor.
Connor, I see that your buddy Kent Johnson scored 11 points in line while you were down here, but still lost the game. Do you happen to have any advice for him on maybe winning the next game?
No, I don't. Yeah, I mean, get 12 or 13, I guess. But no, I think me and AC, I mean, we were asleep. It's pretty late games, but yeah, I mean, he's a pretty good player. Obviously, it sucks how we lost that one.
Now, the friendship that you have, though, him and Kent Johnson and Andrew Cristall as well, just how important has that friendship been going up here? And then on Cristall himself, just how good of a player is he that you get to see him and play with him like this?
Yeah, I mean, for, you know, with Kent, him having the experience in the NHL and obviously playing that last full season, and you know, kind of asking him questions and learning kind of what he thought of it and stuff has been great for me, and skating with him all the time. But yeah, and Andrew, I think he's probably the smartest hockey player I've got to play with, and obviously watched this year, and just the things he's able to do out there, and what he does with the puck, and you know, how well he creates offenses. You know, some of the best I've ever seen. So he's a special player, and you know, he's gonna make a team really happy.
Connor, what's your reaction to Matthew Wood getting the recognition that he has throughout this process, and what makes him such a dynamic talent?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, he deserves it. He's excelled at every level he's played in. I mean, the year he had in the BCHL last year was record breaking, and same this year, being a 17-year-old in that league of up to I think 24, 25-year-old players. So it's remarkable what he's done, and he's same thing. He's so smart, and the way he shoots the puck is unreal. So it's all deserved, and he's a great player.
Hi, Connor. I'll take you back in time a little bit, but 3 years ago, you were granted the exceptional status. I was just curious to know, looking back 3 years after, how do you think it benefited you, and what do you think you got out of it?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, for me, getting to play with guys up 20 years old when I was 15. I mean, you learn so much. You're not gonna be playing the same way that you do with your own age, and you gotta adjust and adapt and kind of change your game a little bit, which makes you really have to think the game, and that can really help you. So for me, it was great, and I was pretty thankful they gave it to me, and I think it helped me a lot.
Connor, through all the times and the shots that you took in your happy place, through the vacations that you didn't go on, do you allow yourself to reflect back while also look ahead and get a glimpse of what that moment might be like on that Wednesday night in Nashville?
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's definitely been a lot of work put in, and everyone here has been I think putting a lot of work in since they were really young. So I think for all the guys, it's pretty exciting that it's coming up, and I guess only 3 weeks away now. So it's pretty close, and it's definitely in the back of your head a lot. But I think we're all pretty excited.
And just how important do you think it was, as you reflect back, to have John Paddock, somebody who's very experienced at coaching at every level, to have him, be your mentor there in Regina for those 2 seasons?
Yeah, it's been huge. I mean, John's been great for me and for our team, and like you said, he's been at every level. He's coached, GM'd, and everything in between. So some of kind of the stories about guys you can tell, or experiences he has had, has been great for our team, and I've learned tons from him.
Connor, what quality in your game do you feel sets you apart from the other prospects in this class?
I don't know. I'm not gonna compare myself to other guys or anything, but I think for me, I think my best attribute is probably my hockey IQ, and I'm pretty creative and stuff, and love to try to create plays. But I think hockey IQ is probably my best attribute.
And who would be your NHL comparable, and why?
Not sure. I get asked that question a lot and never really have an answer. I watch a lot of hockey and try to take things from guys and try to add them to my game. And I don't know if I'm really the guy to ask for comparable. I'm not too sure.
Connor, where did your love for inline hockey come from?
I mean, I've been playing since I was like 5 or 6, so it's like hockey. I mean, I always really enjoyed it, and it's not as serious, of course. It's a lot of fun, and I'm still playing now, so it's been, I guess, 11, 12 years, and I've had a lot of fun with it, and enjoy kind of going back and playing again every summer.
Who in this draft class is the best at inline hockey?
Well, I don't know if anyone plays it but me and Andrew, so it's me or him. I'll take me.
Hi, Connor. I'm just curious to know, have you talked to any first pick overall, and if so, what type of advice have you received from them, how to handle pressure, expectation, and everything?
Yeah, I got to talk to like McDavid a bit with like last summer, kind of training over there for a week or whatever, and I mean, you don't talk about it too much, but I think just kind of living in the moment's a big thing that a lot of people have told me, and I think that's huge with kind of all the outside noise and all the stuff going on, and to just enjoy things and kind of be where your feet are. So I think that's good advice I've got from a few guys.
Hello, Connor. I was curious, what age did you allow yourself to start thinking of the NHL as the goal?
Well, it's always the goal. I mean, ever since you're a kid and you first touch a hockey stick, that's kind of it's the best players in the world, best league in the world, and you watch it and grow up kind of being a fan of it. And for me, I think all the guys here, if you ask that, they've all dreamed of playing in the NHL, and that's always been the main goal. So I think as young as I can remember, that's been kind of the dream for sure.
Has the realization hit you that you're going to be an NHL player, or when did that happen?
Well, I mean, I still haven't played a game, of course, so I don't think it would hit me till I played if I do. So it's hard to kind of think about that, but of course I'll work as hard as I can to try to achieve that goal, and hopefully I do.
Hey Connor, as you've been interviewing with teams this week, have there been questions you've been asking the Blackhawks or whoever else just important to you about, I guess, preparing for that next step?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you gotta kind of be a sponge with some things, and as much knowledge as you can get on the league, which would help your training and kind of your preparation to try to make it and try to play in that league. So I think asking questions is great and trying to figure some stuff out, and they can definitely give you some little tips.
Focusing on this offseason to prepare?
I mean, it's always everything, and you always want to improve in every area. But I think the game's so fast, and if I want to be at that next level, then skating's huge. I mean, just the way the game's going, and then some small things. I want to work on my one-timer a bit, and maybe scoring a few more goals kind of around the net. But those are a few things. But maybe for me, I always want to work on everything. Thanks.
Leo Carlsson. We'll take some questions now.
Leo, how would you sum up this entire experience for you, what you've experienced here this week?
It's been good. Started off in Vegas, watched the games and some media stuff, and flew back here to Buffalo and had a great few days here.
And how would you sum up your entire season from the World Juniors back in Sweden, all of that? How did that go for you?
It's been good. Some up and downs as well, but pretty good. World Juniors tournament, and then a great playoffs and a good World Championship.
Leo, did you expect when the season began that you were going to be able to play at the World Championship and then have as good of a tournament as you did? And what were some of the things that you learned about yourself at that event at the end this spring?
Yeah, no, I didn't think at all. I mean, when I got home from World Juniors, I didn't expect it at all, and so I learned some good stuff from Silver, Raymond, Sandy, and those guys. So yeah, it's been good.
With playing with a player like Lucas Raymond, who's had success and is drafted very high as well. I mean, what were some of the things that you were able to kind of take from him, and did he take you under his wing at all to kind of say, here's how things go?
Oh yeah, I mean, give me some small tips on just living over there the first year and the first month and stuff, and then on the ice, because I mean, he's fast and skilled. So yeah, he taught me a lot, for sure.
Leo, lots to talk about Connor Bedard. There's been lots to talk about Connor Bedard for the last couple of years. As a player who's at the top of the draft, but in that tier below Connor, what's it been like to not be battling for that number one for the last little while? Does it take the pressure off? Is it frustrating that you're not in that conversation? What's it been like?
I mean, it's been okay. I mean, he's a great player and person now that I met him. So I mean, I'm just playing for myself now. Yeah, and I've been doing that now the whole season.
How many teams have you spoken with, and were there any kind of off the wall questions that maybe threw you for a loop?
Talked to 11 teams and no hard questions actually. It's been pretty easy ride for me.
Did you ask them questions? Is there something that you want to know about NHL teams and sort of what see on that side of the glass?
Not so much. I mean, I kind of knew a lot before though I was going into the meeting, so not so much.
Leo, certainly a lot of attention going to go toward your interview with the Blue Jackets as a possible target. Just how did that interview go, and what did they really want to know about you during that time?
Yeah, it was good. Talked about me being a center or forward, and I'm a center, so that's one thing. And just I mean the whole NHL experience and what I can expect there if I get the draft jam. Sorry.
Was Detroit Red Wings one of the teams you talked to?
Yep.
And what was that like?
It was more they wanted me to tell about the other Swedes, Pollock and Otto Stenberg and those guys actually. Yeah, thank you.
Dan Marr will now come up.
Hi, Dan. How close were you to getting Russian prospects here for this event this year, and what would it take in order to make that happen?
Well, we can't control the geopolitical situation out there. We talk to all the agents for the players, and it's difficult to travel. It's difficult to get visas to enter the U.S. And we just left it open. There were top 9 Russian players. We just said if you're available and in the United States, then you're invited to attend the Combine.
I guess just to follow up, Dan, what are the challenges, what are the challenges that come with the geopolitical situation, and when it comes to your job and when it comes to NHL teams looking at these prospects?
Well, our scouting is mostly relying on video. We do have a Russian scout that works for us. That he's confined to staying in Russia. But he attends games, so we do get some live reports, and NHL clubs are in the same situation. Most of them have a Russian scout that's in country that goes to games and keeps them updated, gets the information. The Russian Federation has actually been quite cooperative in providing access to the players and access to the games without any issues.
On to Connor Bedard. All the focus is on him. It's believed that he's going to be the guy. What, in your opinion, makes him the guy to be the #1 prospect to be selected? And how what is the separation between him and, I guess Adam and Leo?
Well, Connor, to use your media term there is that generational type player. And, we've focused on him for the last 3 years leading up to this event. He's one of those types where it's very difficult for the youngest player on any team to be the best player on the team. And he's been able to do that every outing, every event, almost every game that you're at. It just puts him in that special category. And there's a lot of words that start with C that analytics can't judge for you, like character. And one of them is consistency. And he can consistently play that high character game in and game out. It's truly impressive. And then we're in a situation here. You have Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. That's Connor and Adam. So you're going to win with both. You're not going to go wrong with both. It's very hard to, say there's a distinct line every game, every shift. They're both going to be phenomenal assets to their clubs. And Adam had a season for the ages. I've said this all along. And whoever gets these two players, they're going to help define a franchise.
Dan, before Russia became a pariah state, back when they were 16 and 15, Michkov was uttered in the same breath as Bedard. Obviously, politics have gotten in the way, but how good do you think he could be if, I know he's got contract issues and stuff like that, but how close is he to Connor on that scale?
Well, at the U18 championships in the U.S. that were hosted in Dallas, they both got better and better as the tournament went on, again, as the youngest players on their team. And they are in the same conversation. It's just difficult when you can't see a player live. And Michkov changed teams this year from the KHL down playing in Sochi. Was a little bit of a difference. His ice time was impacted and affected. So he wasn't put on the same platform in his draft year in order to get maybe some of the same recognition and the same views. But he's definitely a first-round prospect, and I'm certain he's going to be taken in the first round this year. And we all like the hype of, going as high as you can, but it's still going to come down to what you do after you get drafted. And he's going to be just fine, but he does have contract commitments, like you said. But when he gets to the NHL, he's going to be an impact player.
With Matthew Wood, Dan, the size-skill combination there, or as you and your staff are looking at him, were there any comparables that came to mind? And what separates him that has him, pretty high up on your list of North American skaters?
All these players have unique characteristics to their game, and they've had unique situations this year. So this is one of the youngest players in the country playing in the NCAA. And he went out, and what we really appreciated was we sent our scouts in to see all our A prospects at the start of the year as soon as we can, just to get a good read on them, and hopefully they don't miss any time during the season. So we catch them early. And all our scouts cycled through, watched Connecticut play, and he was just getting better by the game. And what you could see was how he adapted to the level that he was playing at, how he adapted his foot speed to keep his feet moving. His skating habits changed considerably over the course of the season, to where he was maybe watching a little bit and gliding rather than maintaining stride. That changed over the course of the season. And then the more it changed, the more his true game came into focus, that in the offensive end, he's a very dangerous player. He can set up plays, he sees the ice, and then when he has the puck on his stick, he's got one of the best releases and best shots in a finishing touch. So all in all these top players deserve to be considered at the top end of the draft. And he's no different. Just the level that he did it at, and I'll go back to we had the conversations. David Gregory is our scout responsible in the U.S., and we just started to see a lot of similarities to Tage Thompson here. A bigger guy, might take a little longer to get to his true top form, but the package is there and the player's there.
Dan, do you remember when you first heard about Connor Bedard, when you first saw him, and what you thought, and when did you realize that this kid was the real deal?
Well, because of the pandemic, the first time I actually saw him play was at the U18s. And I asked him about this. The first game of the tournament there, I said, I had the impression that you went into it thinking this would be easy. It was one against one of the smaller countries. And I think he was surprised at the level of the intensity and the competitiveness. Then in the next game, you could see he had a completely different approach to the game. I don't think he agreed with me on what I saw in that first game there. He's competitive, and he's true. He did give his best, but I didn't think he was ready for the caliber of the talent. But like I said, by the end of the tournament, he was Canada's best player.
And in terms of him up against other #1 guys that you've scouted, you've been in this job a while, like where, in terms of where they were at this point, whether it's McDavid or Matthews, where is he in comparison in that trajectory?
Well, for me, on the scouting side of things, he's right up there with Connor McDavid. It's just the next generation. The game continues the speed of the game, the quickness, these young players' hockey sense is so quick to adapt and read plays, and the skill levels. It's getting better and better, but it's getting faster, and it's just the quickness is just unbelievable. So Connor started that trend, and Connor McDavid started that trend. Connor Bedard's going to lead it into the next trend.
Dan, we're going back to Nashville, so it's appropriate to ask, can there ever be another 2003? And then secondly, just what are your memories of that in the time you were working for a team in that draft? What was that like?
Well, as a scout, after the first day, everybody says they got the guy that they wanted, and then they were happy. It was the draft. And then you go back and look, and you always go back and look just to see where you had the players ranked, and then who actually got to the NHL first and who stayed in the NHL once they got there. Every draft class, this age group, there's going to be some players that don't pan out. That's just the way it works. But I think that trend is there's less of those outliers now, just because the way the scouting protocols have changed. They've incorporated more analytics. There's more scouts in the field. There's a little bit more specialized approach on the coverage that the teams have with the players. But I look at this year's draft class, and in the top 10 to 15, depending on whose list you're going to look at, there's some very unique players that are really true stars if they reach their potential. But in that next 15, there's also going to be some players that will probably play ahead of some of those in the top 15. It's just the way that the players develop physically, the way they mature mentally, and the way they can handle the adversity and the pressures of playing in the National Hockey League. But I think this is a really deep draft class in the first round, and the top 50 all are going to be pretty good players down the road. It's just we do our best, and the NHL scouts do their best to get the order correct, but we won't know for another 2 or 3 years.
Dan? Gabe Perreault rewrote the record book at USA. Just what can you tell us about him?
Sorry, I didn't hear the first.
Gabriel Perreault rewrote the record book at USA. Just what can you tell us about him, the wow factor, and the kind of prospect he is?
I remember writing some of my comments, like this kid has eyes in the back of his head, and I called him a magician out there. He's quick and clever with the puck. His skating, the strength coach at USA Hockey's done a real good job. Like, his skating improved significantly from last year into this year, and he picked up the good habits to keep his feet moving, to always be in the right place at the right time. But like just a pure goal scorer. He's a kid that wants the puck on his stick, but he showed that at top speed he can make plays. He can get the shot off. He arrives on time. He's just your pure offensive top end player.
Dan, as far as Leo Carlsson goes, he spent obviously most, if not all, of the year on the wing in the SHL, and then he goes to the men's worlds, and I think for most of the tournament was centering their top line. From an evaluation standpoint, how important was that for you guys to be able to, for projectability, to see him do that?
I think anytime a player has that versatility, it bodes well for them. Depending on when they get to the NHL, whether it's 18, 19, or 20, you don't always get to play on the top line. You don't always get to play in your preferred position. When we ask players to complete our questionnaires, they might be playing on the wing, but we said, no, we want you to tell us your preferred position, where you think you're best, because there's two top centermen ahead of them, and they want him on the top two lines, so he's playing the wing. So the player that has that versatility, that he can adapt on the play, it's a bonus, and coaches like that. And the coaches, they're just one-track mind. They're going to do what they have to do to win. So if they think they can win with someone else at center and him on the wing, then that's the way it's going to be. And these kids are used to that. They're adjusting. He's been playing at a higher level as one of the younger players on the team. So he's quite accustomed to moving around and playing position. I think if you ask, from what I recall, like he'd prefer to play center, and it's just he just has got the vision and the ability to control the play from that position. But any team that gets him, that's going to be, it's an added luxury when you get a top end player that is versatile enough to be able to compete and contribute at two positions.
Hey, Dan, over here. Just a lot of the focus has been, all the focus has been on forwards. What about the defensive crop? Is it down, or is it just a reflection of how much better the forward class is right now when you look at as how deep this draft class is?
I think these trends go in cycles, and this year it's definitely the year for the skilled, speedy forwards. I can't tell you who the first defenseman will go in the draft. It could be Ryan Bacher, or it could be Sandin Pellikka. On the North American side, our staff, we're really high on Etienne Morin and Oliver Bonk, but it's very difficult this year to even project where they'll go. But Etienne Morin would be my first choice for a defenseman of this year's draft class.
And you talked earlier about first half, second half with Matthew Wood. I'm curious with Gavin Brindley, what did you see in the second half, or at least post-World Juniors, that maybe wasn't there in the first half for him?
I saw it in the first half and had a hard time convincing some of my staff, but they jumped on board real quick. This player has such a compete level to his game, and he has the skills, he has the top-end speed, and like size is irrelevant. He's an athlete, he competes, he goes out there and he plays like he's 6'1", but he just never quits on a puck or never quits on a play. I've seen more time he's gone out there and been a difference maker. Universities, they play on Friday, Saturday, and oftentimes I'd be at a game and I would see a GM that had gone and watched Michigan. And quite often they'd come up to me and say, Brindley was the best player on the ice. So I think he's a special player, and I think a team will step up for him on that draft.
Dan, there have been some pretty impressive player comparisons for Oliver Moore's speed. How would you describe his speed? And you don't need to compare it to a player specifically. And why do you think that might translate to the NHL level?
Who are we talking about here?
Oliver Moore.
Oliver Moore. All right. Oliver, it'll be interesting to see the fitness test scores. He's consistently tested high in the tests that were performed during the season. And his speed is difference making, but he's got the finishing ability. He's got the puck skills. He's got that drive to his game. So like he's a pretty complete package. And I don't know that there's any situation that a coach would hesitate to put him on the ice, because he does have a really strong two-way game as well. We just like the fact that he's one of those players that can give you the highlight reel, rush up the ice, and finish on the play. But you have Gabriel Perreault, Will Smith, like that team, special team that year or this year with the skills, especially on the top two lines. So he's another player that I think a team that covets that, because they need to add that to their organization, that they'll step up for him.
Hi, Dan. With Bedard and Fantilli, how does that compare, and the difference between their talents compared to when it was 2015 and it was McDavid and Eichel? Similar situations, one guy in Canada, the other in college, but talent-wise, is the disparity similar or is it different?
I think it's elevated. Both these players, they're like phenomenal seasons. And I'll use the phrase again: a season for the ages for both of them. It's very difficult for a 17, 18-year-old to excel at the World Junior level, and the way Connor had, and every level that he played at. And what Adam did is, again, he was one of the younger players in the league, and as a freshman, there's a lot of at the college level, the seniors and the juniors, the freshmen's at the bottom of the heap, but he went right in there. I've seen him play enough that what he did, it was not surprising, but it was nice to see that he could execute and achieve everything that he did, because I think all the scouts that have seen him play know what he's capable of, and he was able to deliver on that, and more so than anyone would have expected. I don't think the Michigan coach would tell you he expected that from Adam at the start of the year, and John Paddock would the same. Like, he had expectations for Connor, but I think he every time he goes out, he gets past what your expectations are and gives you more. Yeah.